So in today's class we will be studying about steps in conducting scientific research. So in previous class we learned about methods of inquiry in research work, but in today's class we will be studying how can we conduct a research in a step-by-step process. Science is not defined by what it investigates as by how it investigates. The scientific method attempts to study a particular event or phenomenon in an objective, systematic, and testable manner. So, the objectivity refers to the fact that if two or more persons independently study a particular event, both of them to a great extent should arrive at the same conclusion. Okay, so I already told you that psychology is not about common sense, so you have to be objective when it comes to psychological theories, principles, or psychological researches. Okay, so while you are conducting a psychological research, so it has to be objective in nature. Like for example, when you are measuring a particular table, so whatever answer you got, your friend will also get the same answer. Okay, so in psychological researches also, while you are conducting the same research, okay, in the same area, in the same field, with the same kind of population, then your results and your friends results will have to be similar, very similar. If it is not, then we cannot call it objective. Okay, then it will become subjective in nature. So that will mean that you have put your own biases in the study. Okay, so now the second characteristic of conducting a scientific research is that it follows a systematic procedure or steps of investigation. So it includes the following steps: conceptualization of a problem, collection of data, drawing conclusions, and revising research conclusions and theory. And we will be studying about these in details, okay, in the next slide. So in order to conduct a scientific study, you have to also follow a systematic procedure. You cannot just do whatever you want in your own ways. So a systematic procedure of scientific study includes the following steps: first, conceptualizing a problem; second, collecting data; third, drawing conclusions; and fourth, revising research conclusions. Okay, so first of all, you have to choose a particular theme or topic for your study area. Like for example, if you want to study about stress among students, so first of all you have to narrow down that particular topic, that particular area of focus, because this is a huge area. Okay, so maybe if you narrow it down that you want to study stress among class 12 board students. Okay, so you narrow down your focus. Then you have to search for existing literature on that particular topic, like stress among students or something about class 12 both students. So there are many psychological researches, and you will find details about those psychological researches online or in some journals. So you have to study about those researches in order to understand your particular topic better. Okay, so and you have to make observations, and you have to look at your own personal experiences as well. Okay, and then next step is you have to make a hypothesis. Okay, for example, you want to study about stress among 12 class 12 board students. So here you can choose to study about the causal factors of stress among students of class 12 board exams. So here you can draw up possible explanation of that particular stress among students. Maybe you can say that because of parental pressure, this stress occurs among students of class 12 board students, or because of peer pressure this stress among class 12 student occurs. So you have to make such kind of hypothesis, possible explanation of something. Like I already told you, I think in the previous class, that while you are conducting a research you have to make some particular predictions, like what can be the outcome of this particular research. So that is what your hypothesis is all about. So you can say that parental pressure leads to stress among students of class 12, okay, or peer pressure leads to stress among students of class 12. So these kind of hypothesis you can make, and you have to make while you are conducting a particular research. So the next step is collecting data. Okay, so how do you collect data? So like you have decided that you want to study about stress among students of class 12 board students. So your population is class 12 students. So now you have to decide on a particular blueprint of the entire study. How will you go about it? How will you collect data? So first of all you will have to decide on the participants of the study, which you already did, class 12 students. Okay, then methods of data collection, like how you are going to collect those data from students. Then tools to be used in research and procedure for data collection. So in this particular case, how you can collect data from the students of class 12, you can conduct one-on-one interviews, or you can prepare a questionnaire about stress, about how they feel, and you can go and distribute it to them and they can fill it up. Okay, so these are the tools or methods by which you can collect data from your research population. Okay, so the next step is to analyze data so collected through the use of statistical procedures to understand what the data mean. This can be achieved through graphical representation such as preparation of pie chart, pie diagram, cumulative frequencies, etc., and by the use of different statistical methods. The purpose of analysis is to verify a hypothesis and draw conclusions accordingly. Okay, so see, if we conduct a research on a particular number of people, okay, so we have a particular number, and like I already said, I gave you example of two hypotheses. I made two hypotheses. So we will see here that the population that we chose, the sample that we chose, is it matching with the hypothesis, and if it is matching, then what percentage, how many of them have concluded that it is parental pressure which leads to their stress, or it is peer pressure which lead to their stress. So all these can be represented in a pie chart or bar diagram. Okay, so this is how we can represent whatever we have concluded from the research study. So I already told you that you make a hypothesis, and at the end of your study you have to check if the hypothesis that you have made, if it matches the outcome or not. So if the hypothesis, if the conclusion doesn't match with your hypothesis, then as a researcher you will have to revise it again, or you have to state another hypothesis, that stress among students of class 12 happens for this particular reason and not because of parental pressure or peer pressure. If your outcome doesn't match with your hypothesis, then only you will state another hypothesis. Otherwise, your research is complete and well and good. Okay, and even if you do not even if it doesn't match your hypothesis, then also it's okay. You just have to revise it and make another hypothesis. That's it. So this was about steps in conducting a scientific research. So if you have any queries or doubts you may have, because this is a complete new topic for you all, so please feel free to ask, and if you want to share anything, please feel free to do that. So till now we have studied about traditional methods of inquiry of research in psychology, but there are alternative paradigms of research as well. So till the 20th century, psychologists were focused only on studying about overt behavior, that is behavior that could be seen. So psychologists were mainly focused on studying those kinds of behaviors, but then again they did not focus on personal feelings, experiences, the meanings that we draw out from our experiences, etc. So in recent year they have developed a new method known as the interpretive method. So it emphasizes on understanding it emphasizes understanding over explanation and prediction. Okay, so it takes the stand that in view of complex and variable nature of human behavior and experience, its method of investigation should be different from the method of investigation of the physical world. So as we all know that all behaviors are not overt in nature, right? There are so many things that we feel inside, our personal experiences, our feelings. So these cannot be seen. If something happens in the environment, if you are going through something, then you may feel it in a different way than some other individual. Okay, so for example, persons experiencing suffering due to external factors like tsunami, earthquake, cyclone, or internal factors like loneliness. So in such type of situations, objective measurement is neither possible and nor desirable, because how you are feeling, whatever you are experiencing, it cannot be really measured in a scale, right? So therefore we need to understand the subjective interpretation of the reality. So here the goal is to explore the different aspects of human experiences and behavior without attempting to disturb its natural flow. So here in these kind of researches, what researchers do is that they take a particular subject, take a particular topic, and they do a descriptive kind of study or explorative kind of study. They explore the experiences, feelings of people, or some phenomenon. So they do not make any predictions. Okay, like in the previous class I gave you an example about that good study habits is related to your good academic performance. So here I have made one prediction, but in these kind of studies you do not make any kind of prediction, but rather than that you explore about it, you make a descriptive kind of a research. Okay, because there are certain kind of things which cannot be objective in nature, and in these kind of researches we need to explore, and we have to understand rather than rather than concluding on the basis of some kind of measurement. Okay, later on we will be studying about quantitative, qualitative kind of researches. Then you will understand these kind of researches even better.